Ladies and gentlemen, our final knowledge session of the day is on technology, innovations, and food safety. As our guests take their places back into the audience, let me start talking about the new panelists that are going to be taking their places up here. This session is being chaired by the CEO and Director of Shakumbhri Expo Impo Limited, Mr. Mukul Gupta. About the panelists, Mr. Lior Peleg, the Vice President of Sesame Business Unit Equinom, is going to be our first speaker. Mr. Faisal Nisar of Natural Resources Agri OGC HNN SGS Pakistan is going to be our next speaker, and he's going to be joined by Mr. Ahmed Raza, who's also here in the house with us. Mr. Brendan O'Donnell is the Global Category Director for Nuts at Tomra Sorting Incorporated. Mr. Brendan is joining us online. Also joining us online will be Mr. Vishal Pagariya of Bharat Engineering Company. And our final speaker this afternoon for the day is going to be Mr. Oussama Bitar, the Customer Service Sales Manager for Buhler AG Middle East. Ladies and gentlemen, as I open this session, let me start introducing the guests in a bit of more detail. Mr. Mukul Gupta, the Director at Shakumbhri Expo Impo Limited, is from the illustrated eminent Lawrence School, Sanar, India. He's the Master of Business Administration. He's an MBA. Also, let me tell you, the company that he heads now was established in 1996 and is one of the oldest sesame hullers and exporters from India. He joined the company in 2000, and for the last 23 years, he has seen the industry expand and evolve from a simple commodity to a complex food safety product with a wide usage and reach. Shakumbhri, as a corporate, has always believed in Kaizen, which all of you know is the Japanese word for better or for continuous improvement, a little better every single day. Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker this afternoon is Mr. Lior Peleg, the Vice President of Sesame Business Unit Leader at Equinom, leading the business unit at Equinom, which is a genetics and a food tech company that develops new crop varieties with superior food functionality and better resistance. Equinom sesame varieties are grown by farmers around the world since 2018, and Mr. Peleg has more than 15 years of experience at multinational agri-tech companies, including global irrigation companies such as Netafim, where he was the global marketing director. Mr. Faisal Nisar is working with SGS Pakistan as country business head for agriculture, health and nutrition, oil, gas, and chemicals, and he's been with SGS for more than 23 years and has experience in farm management, trade executions, and food safety aspect. Let me also tell you that Mr. Nisar has been certified as a lead auditor for ISO 9001 and other international trainings for the traceability of non-GMO products. Joining him is Mr. Ahmed Raza. He has completed his education in agriculture, business management, and marketing, and has been associated with SGS Pakistan for over a decade. Our final two speakers are joining us online this afternoon. A very warm welcome, gentlemen. We can already see you here, and thank you for your patience. Mr. Brendan O'Donnell is the Global Category Director of Nuts at Tomra Food. He studied Agricultural Systems and Environment from University of California, Davis, and has more than 15 years experience in food industry. Well, let me tell you that as a global category director of nuts at Tomra, he is responsible for working with global nut and food organizations in order to fully understand the wants and needs of the global food industry. And our final speaker this afternoon for this session, online speaker, is Mr. Vishal Pagariya of the Bharat Engineering Company. A very warm welcome to you, Mr. Pagariya, sir. We also have with us Mr. Oussama Bitar, the Customer Service Sales Manager for Buhler AG, and he is a master's degree holder focused in mechanical engineering from USEC Kaslik, and he is experienced in customer service and has shown a demonstrating history of mechanical and industry engineering customer service. Ladies and gentlemen, as I hand over this session to Mr. Mukul Gupta, just a quick couple of notes before I step off. 7:30 is the gala dinner at the Sunset Arena. That would also be the time when we would be felicitating all our sponsors and our supporting bodies. It's going to be a glittering evening. We also have some indigenous Jordanian entertainment lined up for you. So please be there and get dressed. Please come dressed to have some real fun. Ladies and gentlemen, as far as fun now, it's all in Mr. Mukul Gupta's hands. I hope he makes it fun enough for the graveyard shift. Good morning. It's still morning. Good afternoon, everyone. Final session. Let's have your attention.
Hello. Good afternoon, everybody. So if you have your buyer and supplier who's not here, you can rest assured they're not much into food safety. And if he's there, stick on to him. This is the last session. So after this, we finish. We've changed the pattern a little bit. If you're not interactive enough, if you're not clapping to the jokes and responding to the presentation, we'll send you the mic and ask you 10 questions. So please be very attentive and start clapping on the jokes and the presentation. So we have a panel which will give you the insight about the market, the technology, and the innovation that is happening. A little word about Bharat engineering. People in the sesame trade really understand that there are two parts of sesame industry. 23 years ago, when I joined business, the technology was very different. We started off very differently. And clearly, at this moment, the world is divided into two portions, which is pre-Bharat engineering and post-Bharat engineering. Single-handedly, that company alone accounts for 50% of the processed hulled industry around the globe. So a round of applause for Bharat Engineering, who've done India very proud and made us the leaders of the hulled industry that we are, and the world and Africa is following suit. So let's not take much time and start with the first presentation. Audience, please pay attention.
Hello. Whoa. Hello, good afternoon. It's a bit of a tough time to present. Everybody wants to hit the beach. I'll try to tell you an interesting story. I hope you like it. Okay, so I'll present myself again. My name is Lior. I work for Equinom. Equinom is a genetics company. We are one of the only companies in the world that actually breeds new sesame varieties. And I'm going to tell you a specific story about a project that we are running, especially for the tahini producers, but not only. This is a 10-year-old project, and we are starting to see the fruit and the results of this project already in the field. Just a few words about Equinom until we get the slides on. We are a 12-year-old company, born in Israel, but today we operate in the United States as well. And we are mainly focused on high protein crops, with the yellow peas being one of our main crops, which we develop. But sesame has been part of our portfolio. And as I mentioned, it's a 10-year project in which we have developed new sesame varieties to serve basically everybody here in this in this session and the people across the world. But still, we haven't reached 2 minutes. Okay, I can talk as long as it's needed. Oh, okay. I think we're getting there. Thank you, guys. Well done. Not a problem. So I'm going to tell you a specific story about our R&D quest. And this story is going to be how we focus on breeding special sesame varieties for the tahini industry. Just click forward. Okay, so you know, tahini is estimated to be around a $2 billion market of a product, and it's growing with about a 6% CAGR, estimated to reach close to $4 billion in 10 years. And I think it was already mentioned, the health trends, the migration of Middle Eastern populations to other parts of the world, and other drivers that are making this market grow very fast. And I think in one of the slides earlier this morning, you saw that Israel is importing around 75,000 metric tons. And I guess most of that is going to our tahini industry. Basically, Middle Eastern cuisine is consuming a lot of that. And what do these producers look for when they are buying sesame? A lot of you in the trading business know that very well. So first of all, it's taste. Everybody wants a sweet sesame, non-bitter sesame, and then it needs to be white to light beige color. It needs to be juicy. It needs to have the right oil content. It needs to have a very good aroma. And when you start talking to these food manufacturers, you realize that they really relate to that raw material in a very mystical, magical way, like winemakers relate to grapes. It's not any sesame. It has to have that special aroma, special flavor, etc. And of course, there is all the commercial side of sourcing, which is cost, availability, purity, cleanliness, and the fear of the great monster salmonella. So when you put all that together, buying sesame for tahini is a very challenging task. The golden standard varieties for tahini known today are the Humera, the Gadarif, and some others that are considered marginal but considered good for making tahini, like the Escoba Blanca from Latin America, and we have the Anaí and the Seda from Brazil. These varieties are great. If you ask any tahini maker, he would be happy to buy them. But these varieties, as we all know, are shuttering varieties. It means that they can only be harvested manually. And this means that if we want to expand significantly the production of these varieties, it's going to be very hard to do so in modern farming conditions, meaning to harvest them mechanically, to plant them mechanically. These varieties, naturally, due to their genetics, are constrained to smallholder farming, manually operations, and therefore the growth trajectory of the production is very limited. So what we came to do is to find sesame varieties that will serve the tahini market in the best possible way on Humera, Gadarif, etc. standards, and will be able to be implemented in modern farming with mechanical harvesting, for example. So usually what do? We take plant A, which is good for agronomy and cultivation, and then we take plant B, which has the perfect taste and aroma, etc. And we breed them, and then we make a population. And out of that population, we start selecting plants. So that sounds kind of easy. You go in the field and you select the plants. So when it comes to selecting the right plants, regarding the field performance, it's easy. Okay, the plant that has the more yield, that's the plant that we're going to keep. And if you're talking about biochemistry, the plant that has more oil content, oh, let's keep that as well. But what about taste? How can you go and taste 20,000 plants each time you're doing breeding? That's a lot of sesame to taste, and that's not a very scientific way to screen the results of your breeding program. So what we have been doing in Equinom is we're putting science into that bullseye by two methods. One is we are building, let's call it biochemical profiles for the different varieties, which is a very common thing to do for agricultural raw materials. But we're also associating genetic markers within the genome to the final flavor of the sesame. So if we are screening later on the genome of the sesame, we know which part of the genome is responsible to specific flavors. For example, we have identified the gene that makes sesame bitter. We know which gene is responsible for bitterness within the sesame. So now when we have 10,000 plants, we can screen them genetically in our lab, and all those plants that have the bitterness gene, we screen them out of our breeding program, and we stay only with the ones that are relevant and sweet. within the sweet varieties, we choose the ones that are also high yielding, etc., etc. So with marker-assisted selection, we know how to screen out bitter sesame varieties. And on the contrary, we have marked genetically what makes sesame have good aroma, good taste. So we know to choose from a huge population by genetic markers which sesame plant is going to have a favorable taste for a tahini producer. So actually what we've done is we put science into that selection process, into that initial selection process. So we don't go and develop sesame that's not delicious, that's not tasty for the tahini manufacturers. So I can say mission accomplished. We have new varieties that are great for making tahini and are great in the field. You can grow them in modernized way with the mechanical harvesting, etc. And we have the methodology to develop the next generation of new varieties, because that's already set up in our laboratories and within our process of breeding. So what we do now is we distribute our seeds of these special varieties to some of our certified growers, and some of them are actually sitting right here with us. They grow the tahini varieties exclusively. We buy back the grain and we distribute that grain to the different tahini manufacturers in Israel, which feedback us and help us select the next generation of varieties. So this loop will continue, I hope, for many years to come. And each time we will have new, improved varieties, and tahini will eventually taste better. That's it from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Lior. That was very interesting. And it's surprising that till a decade ago, when we had Sesame meetings, we were discussing about varieties good for oil. And now we've moved to a stage where we are discussing about tahina. So that's an upgrade on the market situation right in front of us. 20 years ago, the industry was talking about bread and bakery. That was all that Horeca was, bread and buns. So we were talking about non-browning sesame seeds and how to do the hulling properly. Then came the revolution of edible oil in terms of China. And I think the next thing forward in sesame will be tahini. So if you're not on this bandwagon, what he said was very interesting. If you don't understand the product, you might just miss out on the bandwagon of tahina in the coming few years. So can we have... Very interesting. So we'll save the questions for later, but let's move on to the next presentation, please. The next speaker. What do you have on your line? Let's have Brendan first and Vishal. Hi, Brendan.
Hi, guys.
Your turn for presentation, please. Go ahead.
It sounds great. Yeah, I'll have the presentation get loaded on the screen there for you. Perfect. Okay. All right. Well, thanks everybody for inviting me today. This is something that's really important to me, being able to talk about aflatoxin, and I'm really happy to have the opportunity to talk about it with you. I do request that you all stop talking about how nice it is over there while I'm stuck here in Belgium in the rain and all of that. But hopefully, in the next time I'll be there with you in person. So what I'll do today is I want to talk about specifically a case study that we did in order to show the effectiveness of removing aflatoxin, because that's always been one of the more difficult things when you talk about sorting for aflatoxin, is how do you know for sure that you removed it? And there's really no way to do that unless you sample 100% of the accepted product, which means you've just destroyed 100% of your accepted product. So I want to show you the way that we did it and the way that we validate machines today. So you can go to the next slide. So the first thing I want to do is, just in case maybe some of you don't know who we are, Tomra is a large optical sorting company. We've been in business for 50 years, more than 50 years now. Started in Norway. We are a publicly traded company on the Norwegian Stock Exchange, and we operate in hundreds of countries. We've got a little less than 5,000 employees and about 1 billion euros in revenue. It's 11 billion Norwegian kronas, so roughly 1 billion euros. And this is really all we do is optical sorting. So we are not building we don't build buildings, we don't do any of that. We focus specifically on the optical sorting piece of the business. Let's see. It says you gave me control. Maybe I did that. I'm not sure. Some of the different technologies that we'll use because we're focused on optical sorting is we'll use basically any kind of optic that we can. So that includes relatively simple things like cameras. It includes things like lasers, digital solutions. We use pulse LEDs. We will also use spectroscopy, and we'll use X-ray. And we use all of these different tools really so that we are able to use the right tool for the right job. So there's really no reason to have a really expensive spectroscopy machine. If you're just trying to remove something like metal or rocks from peanuts, you should just use an X-ray, which is a much less expensive piece of technology. Okay, so next up, what is aflatoxin? For most of you, you're familiar with it, maybe more familiar with it than you'd like to be. But it's nice to be able to just go through a real quick explanation here in terms of what we're seeing. I think I hit this button. Okay, so first of all, aflatoxin is natural. It's a naturally occurring toxin that comes from a specific type of mold, Aspergillus flavus, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. And we see it in a lot of different products. So it's not just peanuts. We see it in figs. We see it in corn, grains, seeds, oils, peppers, tree nuts, ground nuts. That includes peanuts. It also includes almonds. It also includes Brazil nuts and pistachios. We see it in a lot of places. And one of the challenges that we have in trying to remove it is it's invisible. And there's no odor, there's no sight, there's no really anything. So it can be really difficult to detect that. Okay, and then we measure different kinds of aflatoxin. So you've probably all seen this when you submit your test results in order to make an export or an import. But you'll see it says, A1 or B1, B2, G1, G2, and those just refer to the color that particular type of mold fluoresces. So of course we monitor the B much closer because that's the one that's a bit more dangerous, and you have the tighter restrictions on that. But some people don't realize it just has to do with the color. That's how they got the name. So you've got the B for B and the G for green, and sometimes you have R, and that's red. You can see in the photo on the lower portion there, those are some almonds that have been rejected from a detox sorter, and you can see some of those little bits of aflatoxin glowing there. Okay, now some of the challenges that we have around aflatoxin. First of all of these different countries that we export to have different limits. So it can be really difficult as a sheller or as an exporter to manage these different limits that you get from different countries. And not only do they have different limits, but they have different sampling procedures. The little chart that I have at the bottom is Japan's sampling procedure, for example. So they'll take 6 total samples, they'll combine them into 3 samples, then they'll split those out into 3 other samples. It's actually a really complicated process, but it's a way that they use it because they feel like it gives them the highest chance of actually detecting aflatoxin if it does exist. But the challenge here is that aflatoxin, this is not a homogeneous product. It's not like, well, maybe in the case of tahine, it would be, right? If you made a homogeneous product and you took a sample, you'd be able to know what's in it. But if you're talking about taking a sample of peanuts, it's a gamble, because are you going to pull a sample that has 1 bad peanut in it or not? And almost every shipment will contain, especially depending on where you come from, almost every shipment will have some aflatoxin. Maybe it's extremely unlikely that you would have a sample pulled, because maybe it's a 1 in a million chance that you have a sample of aflatoxin pulled. But it exists. And that's a risk that we're trying really hard to mitigate. Now, part of the reason that we're focused on aflatoxin is not just because of the health issues, but it's also because of how it impacts our customers' businesses. So we recognize that if you have a rejection, oftentimes you either have to say, okay, it goes to birdseed and you take a huge loss, or you have to pay ocean freight 2 ways. You have to then do the cleaning, you have to repack it. You've got a lot of time, a lot of labor that's built into that. And probably the thing that's the hardest to measure, but it's also the thing with the largest impact, is a brand reputation. We've all seen examples of recalls, of brand name recalls, and we've all seen that that can have a pretty significant damage to the reputation of that brand. Okay, so now let's talk about controlling contamination. We feel pretty strongly that we want to try to do everything you possibly can. So it's not just about, you know, buying a Tomra sorter. It's also about taking care of the product throughout the whole life cycle. So we talk a lot about irrigation. We don't know everything there is to know about aflatoxin, but we do know that we tend to see it worse in drought years. And we believe that that has a lot to do with the nematodes in the soil. The nematodes are looking for moisture. They can't find the moisture, and they go into the peanut looking for moisture, and they bring aflatoxin with it. In years like that, that can actually be very difficult to sort out that much aflatoxin, because it can even get into the hollow heart in the center of the peanut, and that becomes very difficult. So we want to try to manage the irrigation if we can. We want to try to manage the storage. I mean, something as simple as clean, dry, and cool storage can have a big impact. And of course, I mentioned nematodes when I was talking about drought, so controlling nematodes is really important too. And then, of course, the Tomra Detox Sorter, which is something that, that we use to control aflatoxin today. Okay, so now what I'd like to try to do is give you an example. This is a case study that we did. In this case, I'm going to use an example of almonds. And I'm using almonds because it's much more difficult to see aflatoxin in almonds than it is in peanuts. In peanuts, it's actually quite simple, and it's not that difficult to see. The peanut gives a nice background to that mold, so that when it fluoresces, you can see it really clearly. Same thing with figs. You know, figs are very bright. It's easy to see. Same for corn. Almonds are more difficult. So I wanted to use a more difficult example here to show you the effectiveness of this sort. So what we ended up doing is we worked in conjunction with the Almond Board of California. And we did that so that we would have a non-biased third party as part of this that gives credibility to the test. There's an almond processor in California. They shipped their package of almonds, the container load of almonds, to Japan. This container load was rejected for aflatoxin. And what's interesting about that is that this is J-spec product. It's like the best of the best of the best of what they produce. But you can't really guarantee that you're not going to have aflatoxin just because your insect damage is low and your foreign material is low and all of that. So in this case, what we ended up doing is we took that entire container load of almonds that was rejected from Japan. We took 3 samples of that product as it came back into the United States. We took 3 samples of the product after it ran through a detox sorter. And we took 3 samples of product that came from the rejection bin from that detox sorter. And what I'll do now is I'll share the results with you. So this is the first subsample. This is all of the product that was tested after it came back to Japan. Now remember, this product was rejected for aflatoxin, but all of the samples that we took, we did 6 tests in total. All of the samples that we took showed minimum levels of aflatoxin. Basically, no aflatoxin was detected in this. When we took the samples from the product after it ran through the machine, again, as would be expected, if we didn't find any in the incoming, why would we find any in the outgoing? And again, here you see that all the samples are clean at the minimum level of detection. There was no aflatoxin detected. So the strange thing here is that this load was rejected for aflatoxin, and it did come back to the United States. But after we took a total of 6 samples, a total of 12 test results, we haven't found any. So now we have to look through the reject from the machine. I might have just fast forwarded it too many. Let's see. So when we look at the reject, you can see here that we see spiked high with aflatoxin. Now, one of the things that I want to mention first of all, because you want to be really careful with what you reject in aflatoxin, because if you have a reject, then you're really limited on what you can do with it. Basically, it has to go to birdseed. Definitely, it cannot go to anything towards human consumption. So you want that reject number to be as small as possible, because anything that goes out is basically trash. So in this case, out of 36,000 pounds, so out of 15 tons or so, We ended up with only about 20 to 25 kg worth of rejected product. So it's 0.15% of the product that's rejected. It's a very low amount of product, but again, this goes back to the sampling procedures, and it's just every time that you ship a product and it has not gone through a detox sorter, it's just a gamble. So it's just a gamble as to whether or not that one test is going to be found. Probably it won't. Probably it'll be a clean test. But what we try to do with the sorter is instead out of 1 out of 1,000 containers gets rejected, maybe it turns into 1 out of 100,000 containers, or 1 out of 1,000,000, or never, something like that. So in summary, we really try to push for all of the different ways that we can control contamination. It's not only about the Tomra sorter. It's also about farm management. It's also about proper storage and things like that. But as a fail-safe and as a guard and as brand reputation, it is really important that the product is run through a detox sorter. So that's all. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Brendan. That was very interesting. The final results were shocking indeed. So let's move on to the next speaker. Let's have Oussama make the presentation first.
Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, so my name is Oussama Bitar. I will be presenting the recent innovation in grading, sorting, defects detection in sesame seeds. Okay, before starting, first of all, for whoever who doesn't know Buhler company, we are active in several business units. So every day, billions of people get in touch with Buhler products from the early morning till the late end of the day. We do all the screen phones, we do breakfast cornflakes, cosmetic stuff, we do animal feed nutrition, we do coffee sorting, flour milling, which is the core business of Buhler. We do extrusion pasta, we do as well breweries. In addition, we provide a complete solution for sesame seeds, cleaning equipment, sorting, and grinding as well. So here is a short overview about a sesame flow process. Basically, we have two cleaning process in the sesame. It starts in the natural sesame, where we have to clean it on the mechanical equipment and optical sorting to ensure a high food safety. Later on, the sesame can be used as snack preparation, either for oil extraction or it can be hulled. After hulling, we go again through another stage of cleaning, which is also using the optical sortex machine. And the hulled sesame can be used either for bakeries or it can be roasted to be grinded, and then you get a sesame paste, which is known as tahini. So here is the complete process of cleaning of sesame for natural and hulled sesame. Basically, we start with a pre-cleaner, which is known as a separator, where we remove all the coarse particle, the fine particle, and the light defects. Then the sesame has to run through a magnet to take out all the ferrous material, then through a destoner, removing all the stones, then through a gravity separator to take out all the sticks and the different size of sesame. And at the end of the line, we have the last defense machine, which is known as sortex, and taking out all the defects that have the same size of the kernels, but different colors. And then we go to a packaging line. So as mentioned before, we start with a pre-cleaner, and the most common machine is a task machine or separator, where we have different sieving layers to remove all the coarse particle, as we can see in the pictures. We take out all the fine particles, which has a smaller size than the sesame seeds, and the aspiration, we remove all the dust and all the light particles. Then on a destoner, we can see how we take out all the stones from the seeds to ensure high food safety. And on the gravity separator, we take out all the sticks and the different kernel size, which is known as well as table separator. And here comes the last machine in the cleaning sector, which is the optical sortex machine. And we as Buhler, we have released the latest Spectra Vision machine, which has the best reject concentration. And we are using the Merlin AI software with multi-layer algorithm with higher yield, taking into consideration that we have a very little good kernels in the rejects, in addition to high intensity LED lamps, 3 times higher than the previous generation, ensuring a better spectrum vision on the product. a full color vision cameras using RGB technology. And what makes this machine state of the art is the ease of use of the machine. So anyone in this room can operate the machine without any engineering background. This is what make it really a revolution in the industry. Here we have a case study about we run the machine on a capacity of 1 tons per hour with an input contamination of 10%. As we can see in this picture, we got a 99.9% accept quality in one pass and a final reject of around 12%. Taking into consideration that the final reject has been sorted out 2 times to ensure that we have collected all the good kernels. And at the end, we have around like 2% yield loss in the rejects. And from the picture, we see how the contamination in the rejects, all the dark spots, all the black kernels has been removed successfully. And here we can see a picture of a Sesame processing plant from the mechanical and sorting equipment. I would like to finish my presentation with a short video showing our facility in London.
We are Buhler UK. We are dedicated to the development and production of optical sorting solutions. Welcome to our headquarters in East London, Docklands. We have further production sites in Brazil and China. We are proud to be part of Buhler Group, with a network of 32 factories globally. Inside our factories, we work with multiple standards that are a key part of our culture, as they ensure quality and safety in both products and services in international trade. Our goal is to build machines that last the test of time. From design to shipping, we take great care in every step of the process. Our R&D and manufacturing are highly integrated, because only if we have control over each step, we can guarantee performance and quality. Over the years, we have been early adopters of numerous novelties to improve our manufacturing process and participate in circular economy. All the machines are modular, making them easy to update and upgrade. We expect them to run for many years and stay up to date with technology. Inside of our machines, state-of-the-art camera technologies work together to eliminate all foreign material and all defects to only let the top quality product through. The camera systems are the heart of our sorters, and we take great care in the camera assembly. Our in-house cleanroom systems can adjust the optical elements at an accuracy better than 1/2000th the width of a human hair. We have a complex and innovative product range of 40 different machine types, with an average of 3,500 components inside. We offer sorting solutions for over 100 different product commodities. Our sorters undergo rigorous environmental and temperature testing before shipment. We even got certified to ship our machines directly from the factory onto the aircraft to cut down on delivery lead times for our customers. Buhler UK is built on a strong lean manufacturing and continuous improvement culture. Safety, quality, cost, delivery, and people. All of it comes together to give you a machine that performs as well in 10 years as it does today. We proudly stand behind our satisfied customers and our optical sorters.
Thank you. I'll be happy to take your question at the end of the session.
Thank you, Oussama. That was interesting. Buhler, as we all know, is the gold standard in terms of color sorting. Oussama, you would be surprised to know we were one of the first companies in India who bought your 90,000 model back in 96 to sort sesame seed. It was mostly rice at that point of time, but we innovated and India probably was the first country to use sorting for sesame. Let's have the next session from Faisal from Pakistan. Faisal, stage is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Gupta. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, thank you for the organizers arranged a wonderful event and giving us an opportunity to speak over there on the topic of the Pakistan sesame seed and its quality and safety, food safety parameters on this. So let's quickly start our presentation over there. So SGS is the world leading testing, inspection, certification company. We are around 98,000 employees over the world and 2,650 offices and laboratories and 7 global industries in which we are providing our services, in which global services tailored to your businesses, testing, inspection, certification, consultancy, and trainings. In SGS Pakistan, it's around 1,100 employees plus and 100 communities handling with the experienced people over there and 11 offices and 2 laboratories and 65-year experience in Pakistan. Our focus area is connectivity and products in which that we are handling of all of the textile industries and the consumer products, health and nutrition in which falling of the food testings, food materials, and also the personal hygienes of the cosmetics and other industries involved in this industries and environment in which we are providing our services to all of the integrity of the equipments as well and the civil and electrical relevant industry. Natural resources in which we are talking about the sesame seed and agriculture, all of the product falls under the natural resources, oil and gas and chemicals, as well as the mineral. Knowledge is one of the part of the food safety certifications and all of the certification like ISO standards against all of the industries. Under this department, we are providing this certification. Sustainability solution is also the part of the certification, economic and e-commerce and digital transformation that we are launching here in Pakistan to trace the containers with the tracking system over there, and through the GPS we can follow the container tracking as well. The agricultural commodities experts, we are involved in that I have explained in testing, inspection, fumigation and pest management, risk management, audits, and market intelligence. Let's see on the Pakistan sesame seed outlook. And we have our productions in 4 provinces, but the 70% of the production is from Punjab and Sindh. Generally, sowing is done in June and harvesting in August. Total production is around, we can say that 125,000 to 140,000 metric ton. But the current scenario, there is no statistical data by the government, but the market information is that we will be crossing our 200,000 metric ton this year. So let's see what will be the results on this. The major export destinations are China, Vietnam, Korea, and Europe. This year, we are seeing demand from Turkey as well. Pakistan exports to the natural sesame seed, machine cleaned natural sesame seed, Sortex, and herb. These are the specifications that currently we are generally receiving in our contracts, and mostly for the China. These are the specifications that are mentioned in the Europe for and Japan, Korea, and Turkey. So general specifications are involved in the trade. Our lab is the ISO 17025 aggregated laboratory over here, and our lab is visual testing, purity, admixture, total damage, nutritional parameters that are the important ones, the FFA, oil content, moisture, protein, fiber, ash, and energy, and then contamination and toxin, pesticide testing. SGS Vietnam lab is KFDA approved lab for Korea tenders. If anyone the tenders is coming into Pakistan, the sample goes to the Korean lab. Then is GMO and COVID and micro test. We are also performing the COVID testing in last years when the COVID pandemic occurred in that. So we have performed all of the COVID testing in the Chinese consignment from Pakistan. So we have facilitated the trade from Pakistan as well. These are the major tests in the test sesame seed is the moisture, FFA, oil content, purity. All of being are now be tested through the ISO method. So we synchronize our system is as well the destination of the China, and all of tests are under this ISO method. This is the pictorial information that you will be giving an idea about that what is the procedure that we are adopting to mitigate the risk from the load put. In which the pre-shipment inspection, the loading supervision, quality and quantity inspection, cleanliness of inspections of the containers, tallying and sampling. So these are some pictorials that you are seeing that how to checking all of the pre-shipment inspections. And then the loading and then fumigations on this. Fumigation and pest management is also doing in SGS Pakistan. We are only the one exclusively in Pakistan as a SGS GAFTA fumigator approved in Pakistan. Is we also providing the fumigation, disinfection treatments, gas-free detection, also removal and disposable, and pest management. As far as the food safety is concerned, is the companies is to be required whenever to export in out of the country. So SGS is providing audit and certification in ISO 9001, HACCP, GMP, ISO 22,000 is a food safety one, and AFC, BRC, and customized audits. Other services for sesame seed industry that can be in the farm levels is the seed testing, is a precision farming, application of fertilizer and pesticide through drones, crop surveys, seed trial, pesticides and fertilizers trials, and global gap certification. Is the farm levels then can be adopting over these to increase the yield of the sesame seed as well. And the manufacture and process side, the shelf life study that we are providing that the service of the shelf life study, claims verification, nutritional testing, labeling, and translations. The industrial innovations and value additions is these are the something is that at both of these suppliers and all of the industrial in Pakistan, how to value the add it in this in Pakistan as well. And Pakistan supplier is we are they can say that we have tried to aware them how to control the qualities, how to get it the raw materials in that way to you select the raw materials when we are providing the testing facilities at the raw material side, purchasing side as well. So there is also that the people in the Pakistan is also grooming their industry, updating their industry with the innovation of the gravity separators and the sortex machines, and they are also fixing over their mills to mitigate the risks and to provide the good qualities into the market. Then is the sesame seed oil processing in Pakistan can do the one of the business to value added in this, and then is the confectionery that can use in the confectionery items in Pakistan like snack and bars. And one of the major is in Pakistan is also the cosmetic industry is booming over there. So this is also the one of the use in the cosmetic industry. And then R&D in seed and trials. So all of together are making an effort to increase the yield and also the production's values as well with the good production and good supply from the Pakistan exports. So if we are joined together and we are looking forward to increase the yield of cross from 200,000 metric ton to the 300,000 metric ton. So this is my last and least that I am also available with my colleague Ahmed Raza during this event as well. And after that, about any query about. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Faisal. Now, finally, we are up to our last presentation. Let's have Vishal from Bharat Engineering. Like I said, one of the pioneers in the technology for hulling industry. Let's have the last presentation from Vishal. Vishal, you're on stage.
Slides.
Yeah, we can hear you. Let's just wait a minute to come on screen. Yes.
First of all, thank you, Mukul sir, for the kind words. And hello, everyone. Myself, Vishal from Bharat Company. I'll be talking about system hulling, comprehensive overview of the process and the machinery. So I'll be talking about the system hulling is comprehensive overview and the process. Regarding the process, I'll be talking about as the system arrive in the facility, you collect the sample, you pre-clean as an optional process, you post-clean the system seed. After that, you do the hulling as a dry and wet. As it is a washing operation, you have to do the dryer in attachment with an hot air generator, in the post-cleaning of the hull seed and a control, quality control packaging machine and lab and the Expo.
Again, you're on mute. Every time you slide, I think you go on mute. So please make sure that.
Okay. So in the sample analysis, you do the manual sieving, mechanical sieving. It is the best way, possible way to collect the amount of rejection that the truck or an incoming goods have. And vibro sieving is optional for the fast and the underflow rejection of the sample. Next. This is an additional step that is a pre-cleaning. In India, the goods comes are mostly farm cleaning. So you have nearly 4 to 5% of reduction value of raw cleaning process. But in Africa, it came to 8 to 9%. So there is a 4% addition, and that 4% addition is mostly sand because they want to increase the weight. It is better for a long-term industry player to clean the incoming raw steel and to stack it, as it benefit you not in terms of just removing the sand as an impurity. It will help you as the sand has the moisture. So because it came from the pond, it has the moisture. So moisture induced with the system, and it long lasts till you cut the till you use that bag or the process. So if you remove the sand, if you remove the sand from the process, if you pre-clean, you can have the moisture uniform of the system seed. You will reduce the fungal growth for a long term for the stacking. You can heighten the pile inventory in the warehouse. You can minimize the inventory for it because the bags come in a truck. They have ununiform shape of the bag. So you can have an better stacking and minimize the forward. Next, please. So the cleaning process is very regular, simple process. You use the round sugar to take the underflow of the sesame, and the next is pre and final MTRA. Use the air to collect the light seed from the impurity. The suction type stone is best suitable for the sesame because of its volume, and the gravity separator should have a large surface area because number of teeth count per sesame is higher. So you need to have the bed area for the process large to collect the light heat. And last and finally, the color sorter. Color sorter remove the discoloration, but color sorter efficiency and the process depend upon the previous machine. If you leave the mud ball and the light sheet, the color sorter efficiency will nearly come down to 20 to 30%. So better cleaning will always enhance the color sorter performance. Next, please. So why do we do the hulling? So first thing is sesame hull has high end value market. It is used in regular bakery product, confectionery, snacks, dressing, Asian cuisine, mainly tahini, nutritional supplement, cosmetics, pharmaceutical. How do you add to value addition in the sesame hulling? So sesame hulling, any kind of variety of sesame is possible to hull. So you can have an worldwide scope of work for the hulling, and you can meet the high demand in the developing region. Hulling process uses the lay process technology. It softens the outer shell of the sesame, and in the peeling, the water is used as a washing operation. It removes the seed husk from the hulled sesame. So you get a clean hulled sesame seed that is ready to export. And the main criteria of the hulling process. So you need to have a sample that is have a minimum discoloration to use as a raw material for the wet hulling process. Next, please. So dry hulling sesame. So there is a wet that is used the water as a process. The friction-based technology. You remove the sesame husk by the friction. You collect the sesame husk by sieving operation, and you do the washing to make sure there is no micro husk present on the hull seed. You get a clean hull seed. The major difference between the dry and wet in term of the clarity is the term of sesame bakery, and it is dry hull used in the tahini. Next, please. So the dry, once you do the drying, you have the moisture of nearly 34%. You need to drop it to 4%. So the dryer is required to reduce the moisture from 35 to 4%. The fluid bed drying system is the best suitable for the sesame hull because it uses the hot air to reduce the moisture of the sesame seed. It doesn't damage the sesame body, and it lowers down the moisture. For the further cooling, the cooling is required for the sesame as it is hot. So you need to pack it and need to process it. The temperature needed to be cooled. The seed temperature needs to be cooled down. So there is a cooling attachment that come along with the dryer. Next, please. So when you dry, you need a hot air supply. So there are multiple hot air supply that you have. One is gas, that is direct fire, that doesn't have any residual left. You can use that as a direct fire. And the other one is indirect fire, like a steam boiler, thermic, and button. That those are the indirect fire. You can use any type of fuel that you have in the vicinity of your process facility. So this is the hulling process that you have. Previous slide, please. So in the wet hulling, you remove the husk with the water process. So you need to process the water that is new, that is came out from the wet hulling process. You use the sieving process to collect the husk, some husk, and you have to use the ETP process to clean the water for the factory outlet system. Next. So the quality control at the end, once the hull is come out to the dryer, you have to remove the discolor sheet because it will have discolor sheet. So you remove the discolor sheet by the color sorter. You use the metal detector to remove the impurity. X-ray as a quality control machine, X-ray conveyor belt, and automatic packaging line, and the metal conveyor belt to ensure you have the quality control supply of hull efficiency. Next. So in the process, everyone wants to know how much hull you get from the hulling process. So it is nearly 83 to 84% of the hull system you obtain. So there are two types of rejection that you have in the hulling process. One is the husk that you need to remove to obtain the hull system. The second is the color sorter discolor rejection that you do to get a uniform hull sheet. Both rejections are applicable in their own way. The husk is applicable in the animal feed, and the color sorter rejection is value added with the cold pressed soil and deep wetted oil cake. So the dry and wet hulling. The wet hulling and dry hulling is major difference in the water consumption. The wet hulling have 1 kg of sesame seed require nearly 6 liters of water. In the dry hulling, 1:2. And not just with the water, the process differ in the market applicability with the output of the hull. That the wet hull have shiner and it is more applicable to the bakery industry, and the dry hull is more applicable to the tiny as it comes to the taste and the quality. Next. So the lab testing and storage for the hull system, you need to have a storage facility, a good maintained and enclosed environment, and ensure the humidity and temperature control in storage because it play a major role of the life of the system hull. Minimum stacking and 5-ply paper bag to have reduce the actual impact on the system. And you need a lab testing details for the shipment and the transport, like motor, aflatoxin, salmonella, Mukul, each module. Right. Next. So at the end, it's a Bharat company achievement and contribution. Mr. Lalit Jain has always been a well-known person in the wet hulling machinery. He pioneered the wet hulling process. He simplify the process line and efficiency of the process. We have a number of clients in the dry hulling, mostly in China, 5 metric ton and 1 metric ton in major other season market. And we have global presence in wet hulling process in India, China, Taiwan, and recently Nigeria and Turkey are the major wet hulling market that we have seen. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vishal. That was interesting. So you've shown all the pictures, all the machines. Now we'll have more competition coming from Africa. I think we've done with all the presentations. Okay, perfect. So we'll not stretch the session too long. Let's start with the few observations that I've made, and let's ask a few questions. The first bitter question to Lior, since you say you can make sweet tasting seeds, and I believe that every product comes with a caveat. When I started doing business, I thought I was getting into health food, but I realized a half-pound burger with 1 gram of sesame is not healthy food. And similarly, your sweet tasting sesame probably also has some problems which we don't know yet. What have you identified on that in terms of the longevity and the FFA problems we see in mechanical harvesting? How is that problem going to be solved for the non-chattering variety?
I'm going to disappoint you, I think. Actually, I think that once we get to a calibration of the field work, we see FFA levels really low. I have some of my partners here that you can ask them. Don't take my word for it. I'm just, representing the company that's developing the product. You should ask the users. I got some certificates from Marcelo here that was growing our sesame this year. FFA was around 0.3, 0.4%. I think anybody would accept that. So skin damage, we couldn't correlate it to our genetics. I mean, we don't see having sesame being sweet or tasty correlated to any side. What we are working hard on is finding the right variety to the right environment. So I can say, and I have another friend here, Bernardo from Brazil. We had a fantastic variety that we really fell in love with, and we sent it over, and it failed in their own local conditions. So environment plays a role here as well, and not anything that would grow nicely, let's say in Egypt, Israel, or even Argentina, would thrive, and vice versa. So that's where we're seeing our immediate challenges is out of that portfolio of sweet varieties, choosing the ones for each environment and making sure that farmers also are making a good profit out of growing that stuff.
Interesting. So that was nice because FFA seems to be the prime concern when we talk about mechanical harvesting for the new varieties. Another question for SGS Pakistan. In terms, India at the moment, under the leadership, as you all know, Mr. Kushwan Jain, we had this problem of ETO arising out of EU. It was very, very professionally handled by the IOEPC. The system checks that we have right now in India are world class. I mean, we've probably done whatever the EU asked us for and more. In terms of quality checks in Pakistan and this is going to be the standards globally in a couple of years. What India has done is bound to be replicated at all destinations which want to serve EU and US. How is SGS ready in terms of those quality standards for the EU and US market?
Thank you. In Pakistan, generally that started as far as the sesame seed is mostly to the China, in which that standard is adopted by the FFA and the oil content and moisture. And for the exports of the Europe countries, there is the pesticides and the aflatoxins, so that our SGS lab in Bulgaria fully occupied and fully, that equipped with all of the instruments of the pesticides to fulfill all of the requirements of the testings that we are providing to them. And as far as the suppliers is concerned, that whenever the supplier is intending to exports to the in that countries, they are also developing their industry in that way to adopting, that all of the practices in, as I said in my presentations of FSSC 22,000 standards. If you are following these standards, then you are capable to produce such types of qualities as well from your industry. So as far as the testing is concerned, that we are providing that services from SGS Bulgaria and SGS France lab as well. And in Pakistan, we are also providing such parameters in which are involved in this. So the audits and the testings is both are there, and the suppliers in Pakistan are preparing themselves to exports to that industries. And Pakistan is also involved in same industries. People is also involved in the brown basmati exports out of Pakistan to the European countries. So they are well aware about these standards as well.
Thank you so much. Another question I have is for Oussama. Buhler, as we all know, is the gold standard. But in terms of purity, a lot of machines can match you, which come out of China and give the roughly the same quality. What makes Buhler different from the machines that come out of China and other origins in terms of quality management and consistency?
Okay, thank you for the question. So basically, as you said, that's true. Many competitors, they are able to reach the purity, but the most important point is how much you lose good kernels in the defects. This is what makes Buhler different from other competitors. So in Buhler machinery, we lose very little good kernels in the rejects, which you cannot recap on other machineries. And this is where you get the return on investment on the machine quicker than other provider. This is a very good points for our main user of the machineries. So this is actually what makes it special. In addition to our after-sales service, we have a presence all over the world. So we can support our machinery with a good service engineer based in, we have 140 sales office all around the world with service engineers. So we have a better coverage in all the regions. Thank you.
Brendan, another question for you is, what innovations can you do apart from aflatoxin in sesame or peanuts? I mean, what else is the near future that we will be detecting through machines and not making the lots go through a sampling process where we find the problem and then try to eradicate it? What is the first stoppage in terms of innovation you think is coming up next?
Well, I mean, eradicating aflatoxin at the source sounds fantastic. I have no idea how that would. Yeah, I mean, it would be great if aflatoxin just didn't exist, or if there was a way to eliminate it from the field. But in the meantime, you know, we are reliant on technology like a detox sorter in order to be able to see and remove it. Other things that we tend to work on, though, I think there's going to be a lot in the future that revolves around data collection. And as the product is coming through the plant, you know, having a sorter there to inspect it so that you get more information about what is coming in, and giving you the opportunity to treat it, you know, the way that it should be treated based on the quality of the product that comes in. Other than that, I think, you know, we tend to focus on some of the stuff we're focused on right now is really about how to make a process more efficient from start to finish. A lot of that has to do with trying to reduce labor in some of the expensive areas. And if you're going to do that, then you need to look at what products still require hand labor. Sometimes those are things like chufa or nutgrass or Johnson grass, things that look similar in size and shape and color to a peanut. And in that case, we're using basically spectroscopy in order to create a digital fingerprint of all the products that come through the machine and be able to tell you the difference between nutgrass and a peanut, you know, or any other type of allergen. The main thing, though, really comes down to that data. And one of the trends that I see in our business is the end user is making more of investments in our technology so that they can get more information based on the product that they're bringing in. So some of the large companies that, you know, I don't need to name them, but people that are making candy bars or, you know, that type of stuff with their brand reputation on the line, they're buying the equipment so that when the peanuts are running through them, they're getting information, they're getting statistics, they know exactly what's been sent to them. And then they're also able to give a final check to make sure that that product meets their standards.
Thank you so much. Brendan, can you actually find out the aflatoxin levels peanuts in shell, or is it only the kernels that you can find the aflatoxin in?
No, at least for us, it's totally the kernels, only the kernels that you can see. As we all know, blanching does a tremendous amount to reduce aflatoxin because most of the aflatoxin is on the surface of the peanut. So if you remove that skin, you're taking it with it. In times when aflatoxin is really bad, I mentioned earlier that sometimes the nematode can go into the center and you end up with aflatoxin in the hollow hearts. When that happens, we recommend blanching and splitting peanuts before we sort them, just in order to make sure that we can find every bit that's in there. But it is a reflection of the light, so it's not like something you could see with X-ray, where it's not based on density, it's not based on anything else. It has to be a reflection of that very specific UV light.
Thank you so much. Vishal, another question for you now. The hulling industry, like you said, uses a lot of water. 1:6 ratio is a lot. I mean, most people would just be very, very afraid to start using sesame if I told them I'm wasting 6 liters of water for every kilo of sesame that I supply to them. What do you think is the near future? Is dry hulling the solution, or will there be a mid path where it's a combination of the two?
I couldn't hear the full question, but I understand the initial part. The thing is, the wet hulling does consume amount of water. So our proposal comes from the industry to look out for the solution, and we are looking forward to it, and we do have a few of the method to reduce the water quantity in the wet hulling nearly by 30 or 40%. And in the dry hulling, you have unpeeled seed. So based on the variety, you have an unpeeled relation with the machinery. So that is also an sort of concern that we have, and most probably in the next year in this conference, I'll be presenting with a possible solution with the wet hulling and dry hulling.
Thank you so much. Lior, another question for you. India right now struggles not in terms of manpower, lack of manual harvesting. We do lack a lot in terms of the yield. Is it possible to have high yield varieties the Indian environment? Will that be able to be developed?
Definitely. First of all, our varieties can grow, I guess, well in India. I just think that the benefit they will generate to the farmer would be not as important as for a farmer that wants to harvest it mechanically. At this point, from our perspective as a genetics company, we're not trying to develop shattering varieties with high yield. Although, of course, it can be very beneficial to a lot of the current growers, it's just, and it's sad to say, but on a business perspective, we don't think it's a right way to go for us strategically, because finally we are not structured to serve so many smallholders. But I think it would be a beautiful thing if anybody would finance that kind of project, because that would really be beneficial to a lot of smallholders, which we all depend on for our food. So the answer is commercially, no. Emotionally, yes, I would say.
And practically, yes, as well. So can we ask the Indian government to contact you and fund you for a high yielding shattering variety?
Definitely. It's a practical thing to do. No doubt.
Perfect. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions in the audience? Before I ask, can I ask Mr. Jain, the immediate past president of IOP EPC, to explain the fabulous job that he did in terms of QC and the checks and balances for EU export, reopening the EU export. By the way, India got banned for exporting into EU, and he got it opened and did a fabulous job. And we are on our way to probably getting off the list in terms of the percentage checks. Mr. Jain, can you explain the whole process?
Actually, when ETO problem raised in European countries, from our side, we have taken the initiative. First, we stopped the shipment to the European country, and we asked our stakeholder what is happening and how we can go for the European markets. So we check everything. We taken the consideration, laboratories, testings, how ETO arise. We have talked with our mission, talked with the ministry. Afterwards, we come to conclusion this happening due to some reason. We have submitted the white paper to the European Union, what we are going to be further to not to get ETO into the sesame seed for the European market as well as the other market. And when we open till date, we only get 2 rejection from European Union for last 1.5 years. And that 2 rejection only is the borderline, which is the testing saying 50% is variation. So almost we can say 100% there is no ETO content find in the European market from last 1.5 years. So it's possible if everybody will take this, what we want to do for the European market is possible. And I can assure from the Indian government side and our council that if you see the Indian sesame market is growing, especially the hulling, most of factories are well equipped. Recently, the European Union has audited the mission has Indian all the factories and all, and they have come up with the conclusion that India is now very well equipped and we will not find the ETO problem in India. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Another question for SGS Pakistan. In terms of salmonella, India is now, our association IOPEPC has decided that you need to get your dryers validated for the control of salmonella. When the sampling is happening in Pakistan, and you can generalize it to Africa as well, what percentage of cargoes do you actually find salmonella positive, which don't really go out for export? And is there a study back on that to check it further as to how to reduce that number? Is there anybody involved in that process from you or the government or the association?
So far is in that way, this the salmonella free process. Some companies in the sesame seed is adopting such types of practices in which the product freely that from the salmonella. For this is exports to be required for some European countries. We have recently purchased some these microbial that the plates in which that we are finding all of the during the productions that taking a samples and to analyze is there is some special equipment required for to check the salmonella free. So these are the some that practices so far will be appointing for this. But as far as the salmonella is a percentage is concerned, there is some percentage is not much as defined in this way. Ahmed, can you have any idea about this?
Hello. Exactly. Pakistan is exporting a few consignment to Europe. Do you observe any rejection due to the salmonella? So at the control levels, most of the companies selling to Europe are ISO 22000 certified. They have the food safety standards already implemented. And as our SGS, with them, what we are doing, we are having their testings, their product testings, their workers' hand testings, water testings. So we are providing these services to ensuring that the processes are safe enough to export to Europe. So we haven't find any salmonella rejection so far for the consignments to Europe.
Thank you. Thank you. Does anybody in the audience have any question before we wrap up?
Hi, my question is from the Vishal. I saw your whole process of hulling. In hulling section, I saw your machines. When we get the wet husk, what we should do for that to make it dry? Because there's no machine. You told us that this is the machine for making the dry for the husk. Should we go for the only sun dry or any other machine?
I had internet connection issue. Can you repeat the question again, please?
My question is from Vishal. I saw your whole process of hulling. In hulling process, you said that the ratio of 1:6, it means the husk is wet. And I want to know about that. Is there any machine to make it dry, or should we go for the sun dry for that husk?
The best way to collect the husk is the decanter machine. That uses the centrifugal force to collect the solid waste from the water, and you dry the solid waste. So in the decanter, it has a force, so it breaks down the sesame husk structure to a very micron size. So you get a type husk. So it is very hard to dry. On the other side, the Indian industry, especially in Rajkot area, they do is the mash. They like in a Wipro, you have a sieving. So they remove the husk by the sieving, by the mash side, by reducing the mash side. Like you drop the water to 30 mass, then the 50 mass. So you collect the solid husk. So it is not in a breakdown structure. It is in a longitudinal structure, the way it is removed from the process. So you can dry that sesame husk in a very convenient way. And you can use an air dry process or a conduction process, like a cylindrical process, and you can have drying with just a machinery process. You don't need to dry in fridge.
I think we have one more question. Any more?
Hi,
My question is about the ETO problem that India faced. And in the answer, I would like to know that if there was a root cause identified for the ETO, and is the entry of the ETO at the natural Sesame level or while it is hulled? So my question is, was the root cause identified? What were the steps taken to get to that root cause? And then after that, obviously, once the root cause is identified, was that in the natural Sesame or was that in the hulled Sesame?
So I think the best person to answer that question would be Mr. Jain himself. Jain, can you answer that question?
See, root cause analysis, we find out it's not problem only in the sesame seeds. It's got the problem in spices, lot of in the dehydrated product. So as per the root cause analysis, there are a lot of 2-3 major point where the ETO can be occur by the nearby any cargo you have stored, that also possible. Only things you have to take care when you are do the proper processing. It not be occur anything in the processing time. So root cause basically if you are in the unit, there is because some countries are asking the ETO treated, like Canada, they require the ETO treated cargo. So in some cases, we found that the factory where ETO process is going on and the cargo is stored nearby and they can affect it. So by air also, if you see in the spices, is the generally automatically occur the ETO content in the cargo.
Thank you so much. Any more questions in the audience for anybody? Technical questions for the machine people? No? I think we're done.
We are done for today, ladies and gentlemen. Let's give a resounding round of applause. And Mr. Mukul Jain, thank you so much for keeping this so interesting. I think through the entire day, I must say that this has been the only session where both of our online speakers have been pretty engaged right up till the end. And, they've not felt as if they were remotely being a part of this, entire conference. So thank you so much for that, sir, taking everybody along. Mr. Khushwant Jain, sir, it was so inspirational to hear. And yes, everyone sitting here right now, or whether you have a booth outside, everyone has to understand that with an industry or a commodity like sesame, peanuts, or anything that's consumable, the quality and hygiene has to be a collective responsibility. And that is the only way to move forward. With this, I invite Mr. Mukul Gupta to present a memento to each one of our speakers, starting with Mr. Lior Peleg. Sir, we look forward to more varieties of sesame seeds. Let's have a huge round of applause for his very, very sharp presentation. And we look forward to more innovations. Our next speaker this afternoon was Mr. Faisal Nisar. Thank you so much, Faisal, sir, for your time on the stage with us. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've made it thus far and if you're still seated here, maybe you can please make a round of applause and register your presence in the house. Thank you. Mr. Brendan O'Donnell and Mr. Vishal Pagariya, thank you so much for joining us online. Mr. Oussama Bitar, sir, thank you so much for your time on the stage here with us. Okay, so now we'd like to invite somebody very special to present a memento to Mr. Mukul Gupta. Ladies and gentlemen, the lady that I'm inviting on the stage now also happens to be the lady who will be delivering the special address tomorrow morning. She has done some commendable, inspirational work in Burkina Faso, and tomorrow morning we will have the privilege of hearing her live. Please put your hands up for the country director, Burkina Faso, Lutheran World Relief, Ms. Kuka Zongrana. And requesting all the speakers now, ma'am, please stay on the stage, Ms. Zongrana. Requesting gentlemen on the stage for a group picture. And while this group picture happens, let me quickly tell you what's in store for the rest of the evening for us. Ladies and gentlemen, 7:30, we start the gala night at Sunset Arena. Now, let me tell you that the Sunset Arena is right here in the Movenpick Resort, right next to the infinity pool. So as you walk down towards the spa and towards the Dead Sea, you will spot the pool of the hotel, and Sunset Arena is a beautifully decked up venue that you will see right there. We have some indigenous Jordan and live Jordanian entertainment for you. We've got a Bedouin photo booth. So come all dressed and all prepared to party. No formals anymore. Casuals and smartly dressed are most welcome. And now the most important assignment of all. Ladies and gentlemen, you're all here. And if you feel that you've not got the opportunity to come up on the stage, let me tell you that for the next some time, the lights will be on, the stage will be lit, and this is your opportunity to come up on the stage and get your pictures done. So make sure that you get your pictures done. And a big thank you to Mr. O'Donnell, Mr. Pagariya for joining us thus far. I hope you're finding the proceedings interesting enough, but the business session is over. Thank you, and it's been great having the both of you here. Thank you so much.